Hey, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue, and today I'm responding to one of your questions, which is, can we cook a rack of ribs on the Kamado Joe JR? And to find out, I have two beautiful looking St. Louis racks of ribs that we've already trimmed up and prepped to get ready to go on our Kamado Joe JR. So why don't I take you back a few minutes earlier this afternoon, where we went ahead and removed the membrane. If you've never seen how to do this, I find it easiest with a butter knife or even your trimming knife to go ahead and just slide a little pocket under the membrane. And once you push that back a little bit, you're able to grab it with a piece of paper towel and it pulls. Usually, if you're lucky, in the first pull, if you need to go back and get any straggling bits, go ahead and do that. The next thing that we went ahead and did to get ready is remove any excess fat that we had on our ribs. Nothing that's gonna render down in a couple hours to something that we want to eat. So we trimmed that up. Our St. Louis ribs already came cut St. Louis style, so there wasn't a lot of loose, scraggly bits that we needed to remove. So I just made sure they look proper rectangle St. Louis cut ribs. And then I hit them with our binder. So for binder today, as you saw in Fast Forward, I went with yellow mustard, as well as Meat Church Holy Voodoo for the rub. Now, to get them to fit on our Joe JR, I'm still not sure if it's going to fit with the deflector plate in, or if I'll have to go direct at a lower setting. And so we've just lit our fire here in the Joe JR. I added a few small pieces of cherry wood to the bottom of the grate, added some rented lips today, some Jealous Devil fuel on top of that, and been playing with a new torch that I'm getting ready to include in all the ways of lighting your Kamado Joe. But since we wanted to go and get this party started quickly, this is one of the fastest ways to get a fire. So I used my Grill Blazers grill gun to go ahead and get our fire kicking quickly. And as soon as I closed the dome, it was pretty much at temperature. So that was almost instantaneous. So I have the deflector plate in now, and we are sitting just over 200 degrees. I'm all the way open on the bottom draft door, and the daisy wheel is in the max open position in terms of anything else would be sliding it over to get any more air. So it's in the max closed position, if that makes any sense. So let's go ahead and grab our ribs. To get them to stay apart from one another, I'm using 3 wooden skewers and putting them in a circle and sliding a skewer through from each of the 3 sides, and then pulling them apart. So there's about an inch and a half air gap, so we can get some great airflow and hopefully build a bark on our ribs on our Joe JR. So that's the game plan. Let's go and find out if they fit or if we need to adjust and drop to the main cooking level for that extra clearance. I'm excited to find out if this works. It's been an idea you've been asking for a while, and one I've been dying to try. Speaking of ideas to try, if there's anything that you'd like to see me cook, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. I try and read and respond to as many as I can, and if there's something that's on many of your minds, be more than happy to go ahead and make that into a video. Let's get our ribs on the Joe JR. All right, our ribs are on. As you can see, we're checking for a couple things. We wanted to make sure that our ribs were not hitting anywhere on the side. And you can tell if you see mustard or your rub inside the dome, or if you see any black from the dome on your ribs, that's letting us know that we need to reposition those ribs. The other thing that you want to check is just make sure there's no rub or meat showing up on your thermometer, meaning that it's actually touching the meat, which will give us a false reading on our temperature. These all look good. There was space on the sides, space above. I think we're ready to go. So I've closed the bottom vent to 2 fingers width, and I've got the top still in the wide open position, looking to hold about 270, although I'm okay if we go a little bit hotter and a little bit faster on these ribs than what I would normally do, because the plan is to keep them dry instead of wrapping them. But we're gonna check in 2 hours check to see where we're at from a temperature and a probe feel perspective, and maybe come up and modify our game plan from there. Anyways, I'll see you in a couple hours when it's time to take a closer look at our St. Louis cut ribs. See you then. All right, we are at the 3-hour mark and we are not yet done. So we are probing anywhere, depending on where we hit them, in the 170s to the highest I saw is about 180, and we are losing our sunlight quick. So I want to go ahead and speed this up now. I wasn't sure how this would perform being tightly wrapped, if we could get away without the crutch. If you've seen any of my other videos, I'll put some links down below. My favorite way of doing them on the Classic or the Big Joe is 2 hours of smoke, then flip them upside down and an hour in foil, and they come out money every time. But we're experimenting with the Joe Jr. today to see how these ribs turn out and coming up with our method. So I'm really happy with how they look. I'll bring you a little bit closer so you can have a peek before we wrap these, but just to help trap that heat and render out any of that fat so that we get a nice, moist, tender rib. I'm gonna give this about 45 minutes or so in foil, and we're gonna check again for tenderness and feel then. So let's go fast forward, wrap these up, and let them continue to baste along in that heat for 45 minutes. Okay, so I'm just using some cotton gloves with nitrile on the outside so we can handle the food, keep it clean. So here's the plan. What we'll do is we'll lift the rib over onto a table with some tin foil, and so we don't pop it, I'm gonna go ahead and pull out our skewers. All right, so we've got this wrapped up in a nice little foil burrito now. We go ahead and put this back on the grill. Nothing to poke it and puncture that, so we won't have any steam. And I am aiming for the back half of the grill, just so when the temperature probe comes down here, which I can feel, just going to avoid hitting that and puncturing our foil. So we double check, and we're good. No punctures in the front. So let's give that about 45 more minutes. All right, we are about 3 hours and 45 minutes in. I checked and they felt just like you were probing melted butter that had been in the microwave. So I think we are set. So I've gone ahead and just mixed up some barbecue sauce and some apple cider vinegar. If I had a little bourbon, that would make a great sauce as well. But today, just do a little bit of apple cider vinegar, thin that up. And so what the plan is, we're going to remove these from the heat, put them on this tray, see if we can actually stretch them back out and use the residual heat that we have from cooking them, just to give them about 10 minutes or so for that sauce to tack up. So let's find out how we do at unrolling our ribs and presenting them as if we cooked on either the Classic or the Big Joe beside us. All right, let's get these off the heat. I have the foil open from checking. You can see these look money. Money, money, money. Oh, so tender. I'm hoping I can actually do this without a huge YouTube fail. That was close. Maybe next time bring that tray a little closer. Shut down our Joe, bottom vent's already closed. All right, we've sliced up our ribs and I brought some back out for the taste test. Now, as you can see, the inner rib definitely didn't get as nice of a well-pronounced bark as we had on the outer one. So maybe next time I might consider adding a little bit more space or using some tin foil just so even more smoke can get in there. I don't know if that's coming through on camera, but we definitely got some smoke ring action on our Joe Jr. from those few pieces of cherry. Was more than enough. But enough chit chat, let's find out how they taste. Get in here. Seriously, like, look at that for tenderness. Perfect bite through, incredible smoke flavor. You guys know what you're talking about when you ask for these cooks. That's amazing. And I don't know if it's amazing just because it's amazing or because I didn't even think it was possible. And that's contributing to the wow factor here. But who knew? 2 racks of ribs on the Joe Jr. coming out this good. If I could clap, I would give it a round of applause right now. Awesome, thank you so much for suggesting that. If you're new to the channel, my goal is to help demystify and reduce the risk of cooking on charcoal, share the tips and tricks that helped me feel more comfortable, and I hope get you grilling more often. If you liked this video, please go ahead and smash that like button and leave a comment down below, as well as hit subscribe to catch future videos. Anyways, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue, signing off, and don't be afraid to fire it up.